Governor, appreciate you sitting down with me.
Happy to be here.
It's been a busy year for you so far.
Going to be busy the rest of the year too.
What are your thoughts on just everything the General Assembly has done so far this year? And what are you kind of hoping they kind of accomplish and get to your desks by the end of this year?
Well, there are a lot of things, as you know, and I've made it clear in the State of the State and inaugural speech and also before, that I think our progress is based on three separate main categories, and that is economic growth, education, and the environment. And everything sort of falls into one of those categories, and they're all intertwined. We have to protect and encourage all of that in order to really prosper. So one of the most important things, of course, is law enforcement. And we've asked for raises for law enforcement, for retention pay, for tax credits for law enforcement. A couple of years ago, we eliminated the income tax on retirement pay for military personnel that come into the state. Also, and that's good, this is a big military state, and the military they're trained, they're educated, they've got a lot of great important experience, and they really make our state strong. They make great employees in all kinds of ways. And I think our state is the only one that has signed a contract with the United States Army that says anyone leaving the Army can come to South Carolina and be guaranteed at least 5 job interviews. So those are very important. But one thing we've got to do, the people have lost trust in the judicial system, in the criminal law system. We've got revolving doors all over the state. They're all over the country. I don't know how it happened this way, but we have all read articles, and a lot of us know people who were hurt, badly hurt, often killed by someone that had been a regular resident of the jails. They've been in and out. Law enforcement all across this state will tell you that it's about 15 or 20% of the criminals that commit 80, 85% or more of the crimes. And some of them, we call them career criminals. Why do we let these people out on the street? They're let out on bond. We've got to reform the way we handle bonds in our courts, and those are in the magistrates' courts. If someone if they've already been convicted of a violent crime, they shouldn't get out on bond. If they commit a crime while they are out on bond, they ought to have asked for a 5-year penalty to be added onto that penalty if they are convicted of that crime. But we got to get serious about it, and until we do, we're going to keep having these very sad stories in the news, and we have families crying, children growing up without their parents, or parents living without their children. So that's something that is very important. I know our law enforcement is willing, but we've got to do something, and that's what I've asked the General Assembly to do, is shut that revolving door. Also, the way we elect judges, I think a lot of the citizens have lost confidence in that. Our judges are elected by the state legislature. That is, I think that's better than popular elections. Some states do that, where you have the judges running for office and getting campaign contributions. I don't think that's a good idea. But I don't think our system has the confidence built into it that the people are entitled to. I think that our federal system, the way that works, is a good model, where the president makes appointments and they are then voted on by, in that case, the Senate. Doesn't matter to me if it's the Senate, the House, or both, but I think that would be a good model, and I believe that more people would be interested in becoming judges if that were the way we did it instead of the way we do it now.
Do you feel like the General Assembly would be on board for that change, kind of having given up, I guess, a little bit of say in this?
Well, the General Assembly in our state has got a lot of say in a lot of things, but this is one where I think we do need to have a change.
What kind of sparked this? I know there have been conversations about this for a while now, but did the ruling on the fetal heartbeat law, is that playing a big role in this push?
That's something that some people had mentioned, but there are a lot of people who've been concerned about the system from from the very beginning, because you have, and I'm not casting aspersions on anybody, but the appearances are important. And where you have, for instance, lawyer legislators who are electing the judges that they appear before. Now, we've got a lot of great legislators who are tremendous lawyers, and I'm certainly not criticizing anybody, but the average citizen out there has some concern about that very thing, just because that's the way it happens. And also because of the election by the legislators, that has a tendency to discourage some people from running, because some say it's just a popularity contest. Well, there are a lot of people who don't want to go out and campaign. They don't want to stand at the doors and go to meetings and trying to meet all the legislators. They just don't want to do that. They don't have the time, or it's an imposition in one way or another. So to have the governor make the appointment and then have it simply confirmed by the legislature or the House or the Senate would alleviate a lot of that reluctance for a lot of real good lawyers who've had real good practices and they've had a lot of experience to put on that judicial robe, and I think it would make the people of our state comfortable.
You mentioned education, economic development, and the environment kind of being some of the pillars.
Oh, those are the pillars.
your pillars. What are some priorities you have in those different, I guess, topics, in those realms that you
economic
want to
development,
taken care of?
Yeah, I've got a whole list of them here. We have to be sure that we're financially sound, and that means we need to have money in the rainy day fund. We've escaped the problems they've had in some other places, but we don't know when something may happen that we just gonna have to have some extra money socked away. And so that's why I've asked for $500 million, that is, to go to the rainy day fund. Commerce needs a mega site acquisition fund. And that is so when we have a business that wants to come, they're in another country or they're in this country, and they want to come to hire the people of South Carolina to do their work for them. And remember, they invest in hundreds of millions, and some of them, as recently and before, billions of dollars. Well, sometimes we have to move very quickly because there are other states that are in competition with us. If we had sites already set aside where the state would have that site and be ready and have the water and sewer and all that it needs, where we could say there's a place, here's an industrial site. We'd work with the counties on this. If we had that set up already, it'd save a lot of time, make it a lot easier, and we wouldn't worry quite as much about losing businesses to other states, because it is a keen competition. And I'll tell you, we're doing so well right now. I'm real proud of the work that we do with the counties, with the COGS, with all the parties involved, because we are just booming. Last year was our best year ever. They tell us, even taking inflation into account, with $10.27 billion in capital investment, and that is just the investment that was participated in with the Commerce Department. It doesn't count all the other businesses that have just grown up. But we got to keep going, and that takes us to education. We got to raise the teacher pay. We have to be sure. I'd say we wanted to have it at least $50,000 by a year as a minimum pay within 4 years from now. We've gone from from 30 when I arrived in this office to just over 40 now. And we also want to have a $2,500 bonus for every teacher out there. We have to have the best teachers, and I know we can get them, but we have to pay people for doing good work. You have to have good pay for good work. So that's very important. Our workforce scholarships for the future that are part of our technical college program. And remember, we have the best technical college system in the United States. Everybody knows that. They tell us that. Our competitors recognize that as well. Well, a lot of people don't have the money to go to technical college. You have to pay for that. It's college, it's higher education. And so we started with a pilot program, and we had, I think it was about millions of dollars, but we had 10,000 people go into our technical college system and get trained, get a certificate or get a degree, and now they're working. Well, right now, as we sit here now, we've asked for more money and put more in. This will be our third year. Now we have 30,000 people who are enrolled right now. And contrast that with we know we've gotten about 90,000 open jobs right now. So we have a third of the people that they could fill those jobs right now, sitting in training and classes, getting ready. That's something that we have to continue.
Yeah, and the state's labor force participation rate is, among the lowest in the country. What steps do you think the state should kind of take to kind of help those people get to work?
We have to encourage them to. One way is by what I just described. But Danny Elsie, our Secretary of Workforce, did a study, and it turned out that a lot of the people that could be in the workforce but are not are just getting older, and it's part of the baby boom, I guess, and they're not working. Also, one of the facts was that there are a lot of younger women who are spending more time in education. There are a lot that are dependent on child care that can't work. It's a conglomeration of factors. But we know that if we have this technical college system booming, and we can continue to bring these companies in and encourage companies that are here now to expand and to stay here and to expand, that we'll be able to attract people to go into those positions. And I hope paying teachers more, I hope that gets a lot of teachers, a lot of people to enter into education.
During your inaugural speech, some of the other addresses you've given over the last couple of months, you mentioned looking ahead for South Carolina. Where do you see South Carolina 100 years from now? Do you feel like South Carolina is in a good place now? And do you feel we can grow and build off of all this to be in the place you kind of want us to be in 100 years?
I do indeed. What I see is a beautiful state, and you'll remember that years and years ago when the explorers were coming over and all of that, they thought this was the most beautiful place in the whole New World. So all of that's still out there. We haven't messed it up. And we have tourists coming from all over the country that want to see our beaches, want to see the streams, and want to go to the lakes. I mean, we really do have it all. So that is a big part of what we need. We need to preserve and protect that, our natural and cultural heritage. The Gullah experience is enough right there to travel for, to see that culture and hear that culture. The history in the homes in Charleston and Georgetown, Beaufort and Camden. Camden's our oldest inland city. Just gorgeous. People come to see those and to experience the food and all that culture. That is something that we need to preserve. But in order to do that, we have to keep people educated. People gonna have jobs, if we could be able to maintain, they have to be educated, they have to be trained. So that's why we have to be sure. That's why we got 4K kindergarten established. Every child can go to 4K kindergarten. We need to strengthen those programs. We have the tuition grants for the colleges. We're asking for, I think, $100 million for that. Those are needs-based for public and private colleges. I've mentioned the workforce scholarships. We've asked for, and I think we'll get a tuition freeze again. We have to educate the people who are living in this wonderful place. And when you have the environment and you have that economic growth and you have the education, all parts of the same picture, that's what you get. So I see us 100 years from now, I think we'll be prosperous. We'll have a beautiful environment. We'll retain and protect this. We'll be probably more aware of our history and more proud of the role that our state has played in the history of the country. A lot of the scholars are going back again and saying that South Carolina was the place where we know it's the place where the British Southern strategy was defeated, particularly at the Battle of Cowpens, which was a major turning point. And some say this is where the revolution was won, and I think they're right. But for all those reasons, this is a beautiful state, but we have to be sure that people are educated, trained, that the environment is healthy and safe, and we have this, if we do that, then our economic development we must be careful not to destroy the environment, and we must be careful to see that the whole state can benefit from what we bring in. That's why we're working so hard to get the broadband spread throughout to every household in the state. And I think we're going to beat the rest of the competition at that. So what I see is a friendly, beautiful, clean place, clean water, beautiful forests, thriving businesses, schools that are just pumping out students that are ready to go, either to go into the military, go to work, or go to college, either technical college, or four-year college, or even law school, medical school, all of those things.
Switching gears here, topic that's come up many, many times before, still something that's very hotly debated here at the State House is abortion. Once again, we have the House and the Senate kind of passing two different bills. Where do you kind of see all this going, and what do you think is a reasonable bill?
I thought the heartbeat bill was very reasonable. I thought also, and I still believe it's constitutional. I think our Supreme Court, our state Supreme Court, made an error on that case. But I know the legislature, people all over the state are not giving up. Neither am I. I mean, I think people want to see a reasonable bill passed. I think the great majority of the people in our state are we call it pro-life, and we'll keep working till we get it done.
All my stations want me to ask this because it's been the biggest thing here in South Carolina. Have you been following the Murdoch trial closely, and do you have any thoughts on kind of how things are kind of going right now?
Well, I think it's sad, it's tragic. It's of course it's a spectacle nationally, and it is a tragedy. Beside all the national interest, just for the people involved, it's a tragedy. But I've followed it in the newspapers. I haven't seen it on television, but I hope everything works out as best it possibly can. It's a tragedy.